The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees announced this week that it has run out of money to pay the salaries of its staff across the Middle East. This comes after 2 years of funding cuts by the United States and some other donors. UNRWA is a United Nations agency established by the General Assembly in 1949 and mandated to provide assistance and protection to some 5.5 million Palestinian refugees registered with UNRWA across its 5 fields in Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, and the West Bank. The agency desperately needs $70 million US to pay its 28,000 staff members, including 13,000 staff members in Gaza, in full for November and December. The agency was badly hit by Donald Trump's 2018 decision to cut all US funding, which amounted to more than $300 million US per year. The United States was by far the biggest donor to UNRWA, which provides education, health, and relief services to over 5 million registered Palestinian refugees. But there have also been cuts from other donors, including in the Gulf, where the UAE and Bahrain recently signed a US brokered normalization deal with Israel. President-elect Joe Biden is expected to resume funding to UNRWA, at least partially, but that is likely to take months, say UNRWA officials too. Too late to meet the hole in the agency's $1.4 billion annual budget, including emergency programs for Gaza, Syria, and COVID. So Sam, the organization is in deep trouble. I saw that they put out an appeal for COVID-19 and they only got like 5% funded a few months ago. Another UN organization, just to show the scale of the humanitarian crisis, the UN Conference on Trade and Development put out a report last week, and they say that 1 million Palestinians in besieged Gaza live under the poverty line. That's around 56% of the population. And just a few interesting things about this UNRWA. So as far as I know, it's the only UN agency that serves one particular group of people. I don't know if this is clear, but UNHCR serves all refugees. I don't know, ILO, it's all labor workers. However, this is the only agency that focuses only on Palestinians. There isn't
Oh,
the
it's
yeah, there isn't the UN agency for Rohingya refugees, for instance. This is like it's very unique. It's the only one that does this, so I found it interesting. And they're primarily a humanitarian organization, so it's also important to note that it is not their responsibility to resettle or find a solution for the Palestinian refugees.
so
And
what is the primary responsibility?
to provide humanitarian assistance, really, to
Or
to the people that it considers a Palestinian refugee. So this is the second interesting part. So this is their definition of who is a Palestinian refugee. It's a person whose normal place of residence was Palestine during the period of 1st of June 1946 to 15th of May 1948, and who lost both home and means of livelihood as a result of the 1948 conflict. Additionally, of course, the descendants of Palestinian refugee males, including legally adopted children, are also eligible for registration. So based on this definition, anybody who got displaced in 1967 is not a refugee, is considered as a refugee by this UN organization. They might be internally displaced, they might have fled the country, they might receive help by some other UN organization, but not them. So based on this definition that they have, they say that there are around 5 million Palestinian refugees registered with UNRWA. So this is where I wanted to get into this article, Sam. So let me know what you think. So basically, it's a New York Post article with the headline, How Trump Can Expose Biggest Lie in Middle East, Palestinian Refugee Myth. The article has 2 points. I think one of them has some validity, actually is quite valid, and even if it doesn't, maybe perhaps come from a good place, but the other one is ridiculous. So one argument is that a lot of these Palestinian refugees now are the descendants and the children of those who are displaced. I mean, that's of course everywhere they consider a refugee in that way. Your children also refugee. A solution has to be found for you, for it to be your children. So that part is kind of absolutely ridiculous. However, after that, he says that a lot of them are living in other Arab states or even Palestine, but also other Arab states, and there they have been given the nationality. And If you look at the Refugee Convention, once you receive the nationality of another country and you're given the same protection as citizens, that's when you stop being a refugee. But like I said, they have their own definition. So I went to a little breakdown of this 5.5 million people and then throw it back to you, Sam. So nearly a third of them, nearly a third of Palestinian refugees, so more than 1.5 million, actually live in 58 recognized Palestinian refugee camps. And a Palestinian refugee camp is defined as a plot of land placed at the disposal of UNRWA by the host government to accommodate Palestinian refugees and set up facilities to cater to their needs. So I think you can say that 1.5 of them out of the 5 million are definitely, I would say, refugees. They still live in camps. They don't have statehood anywhere else. In the Jordan one, okay, so there are 2 million in Jordan, and apparently 95% of them have full citizenship rights. So this is the only place where I think the person has a little bit of an argument. In Lebanon, there are 500,000 Palestinian refugees, but they live in camps also. They do not have access to Lebanese citizenship, and they are denied many basic rights. And then finally in Syria, there are another 500,000 Palestinian refugees as well. Things were much better for them comparing to Lebanon until the civil war. They had all the rights apparently except citizenship, however. That's where it stopped in Syria as well. And then there's a remaining around 1 million who live in Palestine but not in the camps. So although this guy didn't come from a genuine place, his argument, and I mean, at least I don't think it doesn't sound like from the headline, let's say, and also the outlet, but it doesn't seem like it came.
And his boss.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem that it came from somewhere very genuine. And of course, just talking about the Palestinian refugees doesn't do justice to the scale of the humanitarian issue for a lot of other Palestinians who've been internally displaced within Palestine, or had to flee the country. But anyway, let's just stick to these 5 million. So what do you think, Sam? What do you make of his argument?
I mean, it's complete bullshitting to an extent, but I suppose.
And what do you think of their definition also of the Palestinian? I mean, I was surprised that they kept the 2 million on their website. They say that, they have gotten full citizenship rights and that they don't actually provide many services to refugees in Jordan. I mean, because their situation has changed. But yeah, so what do you think of all this?
No, I do think there is. I suppose with the Jordanian case is a bit of a special one, but no, it just shows you when an issue becomes so political, everything about it changes. The definition of the refugee is definitely problematic. What about all the people in 1967 that got displaced and all that? So yeah, it's the whole thing is it's a kabuki theater, both sides. But the guy is a crazy person for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking, the fight like he was, yeah. I mean, obviously the children, especially if they're on a camp, of course the children are also the refugees.
I know. And he makes that point twice in the article. I'm like, that's not a good argument. But so what do you think would be the best outcome for this? Because even if we take out the Jordanians, we're still talking about 3.5, 4 million Palestinian refugees. What do you think is the best outcome for them?
Oh, citizenship. It grants them citizenship.
But what if that is not possible? What do you think? What else other realistic? I'm asking you to speculate, but what do you think could be out there for them?
To be honest, not much really. To be completely honest.
I mean, I think the UN solution also will not give anything because they keep on passing the resolutions for two-state solution, and
well,
so therefore this is crazy, huh?
No, they would be resettled
Yeah.
if there is a.
But however, I believe, and that's what I've been asking myself: why haven't so many of the refugees from 1948 not been resettled? And I think maybe someone who knows more can correct us. But I think it's because of the UN resolutions and their right to return to Palestine and to their homes that it just makes the situation continue forever. This is my understanding. Because we are going 70 years back now.
It's certainly impediments to their integration into whatever country they are in. When you're told that, yeah, we are planning to go back, we are in this fight generations. Again, as I mentioned our other video, I think he's, as time passes, each generation becomes less and less sensitive to these things. But especially if you are in a camp and you're not allowed to, for example, be educated same as everybody, yeah, I do think it's just, it's, actually, yeah, this is somewhat uh, unrelated, but the movie Parasite is, some people have interpreted that movie as a movie against hope, the idea that hope can be a parasite that saps everything out of your life, a false hope of some sort. And I do think it's been like that. Yeah, the sadly, this uh, the idea of this cause of nationhood and statehood and resettlement of the refugees has been an impediment in their integration in the host countries they are in. Because, and that's been partly intentional by the host countries, because they want to use them as a political tool against others and all that. So it's not like I'm blaming them, I'm just
Yeah.
saying this is what happened.
But I guess there's also no pressure on them also to find a solution internally, because they're like, hey, the international community says that you're
Yeah,
gonna go
these
back
guys have,
home one day.
yeah,
And this is crazy. The 1.5 million are only, like I said, from the 1948. There are, for instance, I know another 120,000 Palestinian refugees in Jordan because of the 1967. So, I mean, there must be perhaps over 2 million something Palestinians just living in in
Lebanon.
in camps, sorry, in camps,
Oh,
like 2 million living at least in camps across the Middle East. And when you look at for how long, this is going back generations and generations. And yeah, what the solution will be, it's a good question, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I don't have any ideas. Like, best case scenario, they get citizenship in the countries they
But
are
can
in.
you
I
think
don't know.
of any other situation where people have been refugees for this long? Just off the top of
I
your
would
head.
so the thing, my head immediately goes to Bangladesh and Kashmir
Okay,
and
yeah.
that
Yeah.
type of conflicts between India, Pakistan. But besides that, no, nothing comes to mind. To be honest, nothing comes to mind. Maybe some Balkans. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't. There are so the world is so big, and
Yeah.
there are so many conflicts we don't know about. So I don't want to say for sure, but
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like the content, please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.